Jack Dempsey, George Carpentier, Gene Tunney, Max Schmeling, Primo Carnera, Max Baer, Joe Lewis, Rocky Marciano, Floyd Patterson, Sonny Liston, Cassius Clay, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Mike Tyson.
For more than a century, the most valuable prize in sports has been the heavyweight championship of the world. The men who have held this cherished crown have reflected and sometimes shaped the world in which they've lived. And rightly or wrongly, they've been worshipped by the American people as living flesh and blood gods. That man is Jess Willard. On April 5th, 1915, he knocked out the most hated man in America, Jack Johnson, to capture the heavyweight championship of the world. Now, 4 years later, Willard is traveling to Toledo, Ohio, to defend his title against Jack Dempsey, the Manassa Mauler, for the sum of $100,000. Willard is royalty. His forebears are John L. Sullivan, James Corbett, Bob Fitzsimmons, James Jeffries, Marvin Hart, Tommy Burns, and Jack Johnson. But a new era lies ahead. World War I is over. The American century has begun to bloom. And on July 4th, 1919, the giant from Pottawatomie County, Kansas, will collide head-on with destiny. In the first round, Dempsey knocked Willard down 7 times. Under the rules of that era, a fighter scoring a knockdown could stand wherever he wanted and resume his assault the moment his opponent's knee left the canvas. Willard suffered a broken jaw and broken nose. 4 of his teeth were knocked out. 2 of his ribs were cracked. Yet, incredibly, he fought on. When I was young, I got knocked down plenty, Jack Dempsey would later recall. I wanted to stay down, but I couldn't because I had to collect that $2 for winning. I had one fight when I was knocked down 11 times, but got up to win. I had to get up. I was hungry. Someday, if you haven't eaten for 2 days, you'll understand. After 3 rounds, Jess Willard could get up no more. Jack Dempsey was the heavyweight champion of the world. Jack Dempsey was the standard bearer for a new kind of athlete. He changed boxing from a stiff defensive competition to a wild, almost sensual assault. Soon Babe Ruth was swinging for the fences, Bill Tilden was bringing new life to tennis, and Red Grange was running with abandon. The Roaring Twenties had begun, and to emphasize America's global dominance, In 1921, promoter Tex Rickard matched Dempsey against Georges Carpentier, the gifted French fighter who was light heavyweight champion of the world. The ever-resourceful Rickard made the most of the differences between the two men. Carpentier was a highly decorated war hero. Meanwhile, Dempsey had avoided military service during the Great War and had been indicted for draft evasion. Eventually, a jury found him not guilty, but the contrast between the combatants was clear. Carpentier was handsome and women adored him. He was known to the world as the Orchid Man. Dempsey was rough-edged, a former hobo. Many of the champion's own countrymen had turned against him and were hoping that Carpentier's superior boxing skills would enable him to prevail against the rampaging Dempsey. On July 2nd, 1921, more than 80,000 fans converged on Jersey City, New Jersey for the Dempsey-Carpentier bout. Ticket sales totaled $1.8 million. It was boxing's first $1 million gate. Moments before the bout, Rickard urged Dempsey not to spoil it. Some took those words to mean that Dempsey was to carry the seemingly overmatched Frenchman for several rounds so as not to disappoint the crowd. The fight was broadcast on radio throughout the United States, the first major sporting event ever so transmitted. In Paris, 200,000 people crowded into the Place de la Concorde for a blow-by-blow account of their hero's efforts. Dempsey was the aggressor from the start. He attacked relentlessly and moved inexorably forward. Carpentier sought refuge in boxing technique, but his jab was no match for the Manasseh Mauler's strength. By the end of round one, the Orchid Man's face was blood red. In round two, summoning up all of his resources, Carpentier attacked. A hard right landed high on Dempsey's head and drove the champion into the ropes. More punches from the challenger followed, and the crowd rose as one. But Carpentier's dream of glory was short-lived. Round three bore witness to a deadly Dempsey assault. For 3 minutes, the champion battered his helpless foe. Only the bell saved the Frenchman from immediate defeat. In round four, the fight was over. Jack Dempsey was now the greatest drawing card in the history of sports, unlike any athlete before him. His appeal reached beyond the competitive arena to Broadway and to America's fledgling film industry. Dempsey traveled around the world in the company of Hollywood's giants like D.W. Griffith. He married one of the most sought-after women in America, the sultry actress Estelle Taylor. But as Dempsey was moving across the line that separates mortals from myth and legend, a new challenger arrived on the scene, Gene Tunney. Tunney was everything Dempsey was not: handsome, elegant, a son of New York, a war hero known as the Fighting Marine. Unlike Dempsey, Tunney viewed boxing as a science. He trained scientifically, alternating work in the gym with outdoors conditioning like road work and chopping down trees. Tunney was also the first fighter of note to study films of his opponents in action. And it was this modern-day approach to the sweet science that made Gene Tunney the most dangerous challenger that Jack Dempsey had faced in defense of his crown. On September 23rd, 1926, Dempsey and Tunney did battle before 120,000 spectators in Philadelphia's Sesquicentennial Stadium. Never before in the history of boxing had so many people witnessed a fight, and 2/3 of a century would pass before as many spectators gathered for a fight again. In the early rounds, Tunney seemed intimidated by the ferocity of Dempsey's assault. Later, the challenger would acknowledge, "I had the feeling that he literally wanted to kill me, and I never had such an impression with any other opponent." But as the rounds went by, conditioning and science began to prevail over brute force. Boxing brilliantly, Gene Tunney captured the heavyweight championship with a unanimous decision over the Manasseh Mauler. Dempsey was a true sportsman in defeat, but even as the defeated champion warmly congratulated his conqueror, the seeds for a rematch were being sown. Tunney wasn't a popular champion outside of his hometown of New York. Many perceived him as a snob. He lectured at Yale and took pleasure in hobnobbing with the intelligentsia of his time, men like George Bernard Shaw. Tunney might have been a modern man, but he fell short of being a modern hero. Thus, Americans chose to look elsewhere for an idol. On May 21st, 1927, Charles Lindbergh became the first person ever to fly non-stop solo across the Atlantic Ocean. His plane, the Spirit of St. Louis, touched down at Le Bourget in Paris to adoration that Tunney had never known, and the fighting Marine vowed that he would regain the spotlight. For Tunney, the road to acclaim ran through a return bout against Jack Dempsey. On September 22nd, 1927, the two men met again, this time at Soldiers Field in Chicago. 105,000 fans paid live gate receipts of $2.6 million, a record that would stand for more than 50 years. Tunney dominated the early rounds, but in round 7, the tide dramatically turned. Gene Tunney went down, and Dempsey stood over his fallen foe as he had done with Jess Willard 8 years before. But the rules of boxing had changed. A fighter was now required to go to a neutral corner upon knocking his opponent down. The referee refused to begin his count until Dempsey moved away from his fallen foe. Tunney appeared able to rise after 8 seconds, but wisely stayed on the canvas until the referee reached a count of 9, 14 seconds after the knockdown. Dempsey's impetuosity had given Tunney a long count and 5 precious extra seconds to recover. On his feet, the champion backpedaled to safety. In the next round, he knocked Dempsey down, en route to a unanimous decision that preserved his crown. Jack Dempsey never fought again, but he and Gene Tunney would be linked forever by the circumstances of their historic encounters. Together, they represented the face of the new America, brave, daring, powerful, educated, scientifically accomplished, and strong. Then, in 1928, Tunney did something that no man before him had done. He retired from boxing while heavyweight champion of the world and kept his vow never to return to the ring. He traveled to Europe, married a wealthy Connecticut socialite, and over time, amassed a fortune of his own. Meanwhile, Carpentier followed Dempsey into the film industry, while the battles between America and Europe, in and out of boxing, went on.
What about a kiss for America?
Oh, sure, of course.
With Dempsey and Tunney both retired, the heavyweight championship fell into the hands of lesser combatants. In 1930, Germany's Max Schmeling captured the title when his opponent Jack Sharkey was disqualified on a foul in the fourth round. 2 years later, it was Sharkey's turn for glory, as he decisioned Schmeling over 15 rounds.
Kinder hat's gefallen. Und mir hat's auch gefallen.
Schmeling was determined to regain the title, but through no fault of his own, his public image was about to change. An ugly new era was dawning in Germany with the rise of Adolf Hitler. Schmeling was not a Nazi. Throughout his career, he evinced little prejudice of any kind and remained loyal to Joe Jacobs, the Jewish manager who skillfully guided him. But boxing thrives on ethnic confrontations, and to earn another opportunity to fight for the title, Schmeling was required to face Max Baer, the leading contender in the heavyweight division.
How long do you have to do this? About 2 or 3 hours. Strengthens my hands, you know, makes them strong. Just turning around like that, see? Boy, I'm tired, you know?
Max Baer often seemed averse to training seriously. He was an entertainer who enjoyed playing with his sparring partners to the delight of ever-watchful crowds. But in fighting Schmeling, Baer was motivated by reasons that went beyond boxing. Born to a family with Jewish blood, he fought with the Star of David on his trunks. And Baer was outraged by the vile anti-Semitism of Adolf Hitler's Third Reich. Max Baer was now in line to challenge Jack Sharkey for the heavyweight championship of the world. But pressured by underworld forces, Sharkey defended his title instead against a giant from Italy, Primo Carnera. Carnera was 6 feet 6 inches tall and weighed 260 pounds. The ambling Alp, the man with long feet like violin cases, reporters called him. By all accounts, he was a decent, albeit ignorant, almost gentle man. But just as Max Schmeling had become a symbol of Nazi Germany, it was Carnera's fate to be cast as Mussolini's favorite fighter.
Oh, a little bit of everything, carpenter, almost carpenter.
You never thought when you were a carpenter that you'd ever ride on a boat like this, did you?
Oh, what do you mean? Straight to it like it was Sunday, anyway.
You did, but you probably thought you'd be on one of these boats as a deckhand, didn't you?
Oh, that's so.
There it is, Jimmy. Let me see what you have to win the heavyweight championship of the world with. Open them up. Take them away. But boys, there's the hand will count the money.
Carnera's ring skills were suspect. Many of his most important victories were attributable to his backers' links to organized crime. Nonetheless, on June 29, 1933, the ambling Alp defeated Jack Sharkey to capture the heavyweight championship of the world. Widely acclaimed by his countrymen, Carnera returned to Rome and offered his support to the fascist regime of his native land. On October 22, 1933, Mussolini himself presided over the champion's first title defense, a 15-round decision over Paolino Uscudun. But back in the United States, despite holding the world heavyweight title, Carnera was a pathetic presence. He even had trouble skipping rope and lent his name to all manner of degrading sideshows. Thus, strangely, it was left to Max Baer, the clown, to rescue the dignity of the heavyweight championship of the world.
My female intuition tells me I'm going to win, Jack.
Well, that's
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Max.
Baer Carnera was good entertainment. The fight made boxing purists cringe, but motion pictures of the contest were popular in theaters throughout the world. Baer knocked Carnera down 12 times, stopping him finally in the 11th round. But Baer's reign as champion was short-lived. After winning the title, he married one of the many pretty girls who were constantly hovering around him. He trained even less as champion than he had before. And in Baer's first title defense, he lost a 15-round decision to the Cinderella Man, James Braddock, a 10-to-1 underdog who had 22 losses on his record. In 5 years, there had now been 5 caretaker heavyweight champions of the world. But fate had brought a new star to the scene, a man who soon would outshine all the champions who had come before him.
Him? Joe Louis. Joe Louis.
After losing his title to James Braddock, Max Baer was fed as fodder to Joe Louis. It was a time of fear for many Americans. The Great Depression had yet to be tamed. No one knew if Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal reforms would succeed. War clouds were gathering again over Europe. But it was also a golden age for boxing. Every neighborhood, every religion, every ethnic group had its own fight clubs and champions.
Well, I tell you, I saw more than one Joe Louis in that ring. It looked like whole Harlem was there. In his little ray of sunshine, you know, he couldn't go through those clouds. Too many dark ones.
Joe Louis knocked out Max Baer in the 4th round, a wedding gift to his first wife, Marva Trotter.
Doubly happy.
Yeah,
What makes you more happy, to beat Baer or to be married to this charming lady?
I think to be married.
Was it a tough fight, Mr. Lewis?
Yeah, it was a tough fight, but I think I had my toughest fight home every night.
How about a nice big kiss to finish it? Yeah.
That won't happen.
In 1936, still undefeated, the Brown Bomber signed to fight Max Schmeling. Louis would win. Everyone knew that. Joe Louis' fists were weapons that fired automatically. Fighting Joe Louis was like staying in the casino too long. Eventually, you're going to lose.
May the best man win.
I seen Joe Louis last December to fight Paulino. I've seen the picture of the Louis and Max Baer fight. I think I have a great chance to beat him.
Have you discovered any particular weakness in the brown bomber?
Yes, I did, but I won't tell.
You done any training for this fight, Max?
Yes, I kept always in condition.
Brimming with confidence and certain of victory, Louis had little respect for Schmeling, but he would pay a heavy toll. Like Gene Tunney, Max Schmeling carefully studied films of his opponents, analyzing their strengths and searching for flaws. "I think I see something," Schmeling had said, after studying the brown bomber in action. What Schmeling saw was a fundamental flaw. Too often, after Louis jabbed, he dropped his left hand, leaving himself vulnerable to a right-hand counter. Now, very much against his will, Max Schmeling was a symbol of Aryan supremacy.
Und für das Ansehen des deutschen Volkes in Amerika gekämpft haben.
Months after Joe Louis was devastated by Max Schmeling, the 1936 Olympics were held in Berlin. Once again, Adolf Hitler's legions triumphed. Germany captured 33 gold medals to 24 for the racially mixed United States team. In 1937, Joe Louis knocked out James Braddock to capture the world heavyweight crown. 3 successful title defenses followed, but something stuck in the champion's craw. "People say I'm the champ," Louis told reporters, "but it won't feel like it till I beat Schmeling."
Wearing black trunks, the famous Detroit Brown Bomber, world's heavyweight champion, Joe Louis.
On June 22nd, 1938, Joe Louis and Max Schmeling met in the ring for the second time. Their fight was deemed the clearest confrontation between good and evil in the history of sports. And on that night, Joe Louis was the greatest fighter who ever lived. Schmeling was counted out at 2 minutes and 17 seconds of the first round. Joe Louis was the first black man since Jack Johnson to win the heavyweight championship of the world. But Louis was more than a hero to black America. As the embodiment of America's democratic ideals, he was a hero to Americans of all religions, creeds, and colors. In the first 5 years of his reign, he defended his championship 21 times. But now, life and death battles were taking place outside of the boxing ring. With the outbreak of World War II in Europe, Franklin Roosevelt pledged that the United States would provide vital support to the Allied nations. Then, on December 7, 1941, the armed forces of Imperial Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. 1 day later, America was at war. Now, many of the men who had been champions in the ring led America's fight outside the ropes. Shy and ill at ease in public, Joe Louis donated purses from several of his fights to the United States Army Relief Fund. "We'll win," Louis told a World War II benefit rally at Madison Square Garden, "because we're on God's side."
Yes, from America they need food, and from America they will get food. Never in all our history of America faced a job so well worth while.
This is an official message from the War Department to all you men and women who turn out equipment for our Army and Navy. I want you to meet one of the greatest fighters of all time, Sergeant Joe Louis, a heavyweight champion of the world. Sergeant Louis.
I wish I could talk to all you folks who wait.
All right, cut it. All right, action, Joe.
I wish I could talk face to face to all you folks who wait for the warrior. I've got an interesting job in this Army. I go around to Army camps and give boxing exhibitions. Then I talk to our soldiers about training. I try to tell them all about building up big muscles. I've gone into some hard fights, but these soldiers are going in. Let's cut again.
Cut it.
Max Baer continued to clown while enlisting in the war effort. Gene Tunney headed for the Pacific in tandem with his old rival, Jack Dempsey. For Europe's past champions, the reality of the war was far more troubling. In 1944, George Carpentier, an authentic World War I hero, was forced to endure a celebration of his 50th birthday under the auspices of the puppet Vichy regime in France.
Schmeling, qui est accueilli par une immense ovation sportive à la française. Une minute avant, la souscription populaire de la France socialiste avait valu à Carpentier chronomètre et bracelet d'or. Enfin, suprême consécration, le colonel Pasco, commissaire général au sport.
Once, Carpentier and Dempsey had done battle as true sportsmen. Now, at the urging of the German High Command, American prisoners of war were openly mistreated in Carpentier's native land.
If you want to know, take a look at Brown Bomber Joe. That's what the well-dressed man in Harlem will wear. One man, Jada Green, Jada, all that I let dress on. That's what the well-dressed man in Harlem will wear.
Then the war came to an end. Joe Louis was still heavyweight champion of the world. But the Brown Bomber was in his 30s now. Too many fights, too much high living, and too many years had taken their toll. On December 5th, 1947, Louis faced off against Jersey Joe Walcott and retained his title on a split decision that many observers considered unearned. A rematch was scheduled for June 25th, 1948 at Yankee Stadium. The rich and famous were out in full force. Bob Hope, America's premier comedian and entertainer of troops. J. Edgar Hoover, the all-powerful director of the FBI. Adolph Manju, who would be a significant witness in the witch hunt investigation of Hollywood during the McCarthy era. Beware of an aging great fighter, it has been said, because a great fighter sometimes has one last great fight left in him. In the 11th round, trailing badly on points, Lewis rallied in the last championship bout he would ever win.
I've been champion of the world for 11 years and 3 days. I've defended my championship 25 times. I think I've been told to retire now.
What are you going to do in the future, Joe?
Well, what I'm doing in the future now, relax and play a lot of golf.
But Lewis didn't stay in retirement for long. Exploited financially by those he had trusted, deep in debt to the Internal Revenue Service, which showed scant regard for his wartime generosity, the Brown Bomber attempted a comeback. 10 fights followed, the last one on October 26, 1951, against a new rising star, Rocky Marciano.
Rocky, you've done a good job. You're on the way up. I want good sportsmanship, good fighting there tonight. And I'm positive I can depend on both of you for it. Best of luck to both of you.
Hello, boxing fans, wherever you may be, but especially to those in New England. I'm in good shape for this fight, and I hope I come through all right. Hold it there, Rocky.
The downfall of a great champion is always sad to behold. Now, Joe Louis, the man who defined boxing for a generation, was gone. In 1949, Ezzard Charles succeeded to the heavyweight championship with a unanimous decision over Jersey Joe Walcott. The two men would fight for the title 4 times, with Charles winning their first 2 encounters and Walcott prevailing in bouts 3 and 4. But Walcott was considered an interim champion, 37 years old when he captured the crown. Thus, the road to glory was open for Joe Louis's conqueror, Rocky Marciano. Marciano was small for a heavyweight, even by the standards of those earlier times. 5'10", 184 pounds. But he fought with a will of iron, built upon the most dedicated training regimen boxing has ever known. All Marciano seemed to want to do was punch in the ring. He'd move forward, arms pounding, anxious to make contact with any part of his opponent's body. And always, Marciano had one simple idea in mind: to trade punches and test who could take and give more pain. On September 23rd, 1952, Rocky Marciano challenged Joe Walcott for the heavyweight crown. Walcott was crafty and used all of his skills, but the Brockton blockbuster threw punches that could have knocked a building down. After a man fought Marciano, he was never quite the same. He's a nice boy, Rocky Marciano's manager Al Weil had said of his fighter before Marciano won the heavyweight crown. He's a poor Italian boy from a poor Italian family, and he appreciates the buck more than almost anybody. He's only got 2 halfway decent purses so far, and it was like a tiger tasting blood. Now, for the entire Marciano family, the American dream had come true. Throughout his life, Marciano would remain faithful to his childhood dreams. Outside the ring, he was the neighbor next door. Americans saw what they wanted to see in him and embraced him with a warmth that few fighters have known. Marciano successfully defended his title 6 times. Only Ezzard Charles went the distance, and 3 months later, Marciano knocked out Charles in the 8th round. 49 fights, 43 knockouts, 49 wins. The man was awesome. But as violent as he was in combat, Marciano was unafraid to put his sweeter side on public view. He clowned unabashedly with Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. He enjoyed the company of brethren like Dempsey and Tunney. He was the idol of America in those optimistic post-war years, when the American people felt that anything could be accomplished if only we were bold enough to try.
This is for fun.
Oh, baby, please take me back with you. I love you, I still do. Oh, baby, please take me.
Gentlemen, I would like to announce my retirement from boxing at this time. I didn't ever really get hurt in the ring, and I feel perfect physically, and probably still had 2 or 3 good fights left. I like to profit by others' mistakes, and if Joe Louis couldn't make a successful comeback, I will not try it.
Rocky, who do you think is the best contender in the ring right today for heavyweight honors?
Well, I say that Archie Moore has a good chance, along with Floyd Patterson.
Marciano was right. On November 30th, 1956, Floyd Patterson and Archie Moore did battle for the vacant heavyweight crown. Patterson emerged victorious, and although the championship was once again being held by a black man, white America didn't seem to mind. Floyd Patterson was such a polite, well-behaved, respectable young man. All was still right with the world. Meanwhile, another young black man was becoming known. Cassius Marcellus Clay, Jr. captured a gold medal in the light heavyweight division at the 1960 Olympics in Rome and returned triumphant to his Louisville, Kentucky home. Soon after, the 18-year-old Clay signed a professional contract, placing his career in the hands of 11 white millionaires. The contract paid him a $10,000 signing bonus, plus $4,000 a year for 2 years, against 50% of his ring earnings.
Cassius, how do you feel today?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I hear you met Don Juan today. How was he?
Yeah. He wasn't too friendly.
What do you have to say?
He didn't even shake my hand.
What are you going to do about that?
Now you must fall. Whoever stands in my path at that time, either Liston or Patterson, one of them will fall.
Young Clay was entertaining, but Floyd Patterson was still the darling of white America. Then, in 1962, over the strong objections of his mentor, Cus D'Amato, Patterson signed to defend his title against Charles Sonny Liston. Liston was a hardened criminal who had served time in prison for armed robbery and later for beating up a cop. He'd been arrested more than 100 times. His manager was tied to organized crime, and one thing more, Liston could fight like hell. A prize fight is like a cowboy movie, Liston once gloated. There has to be a good guy and a bad guy. People pay their money to see me lose. Only in my cowboy movie, the bad guy always wins. Sonny Liston destroyed Floyd Patterson at 2 minutes and 6 seconds of the first round. Meanwhile, in London, Cassius Clay stopped Henry Cooper on cuts in round 5.
I walked into London, England. I jumped out the airplane. Picture, cameramen, everywhere I go. You can look in the gym today. The TV, the cameramen, everybody follows me. I'm so great. And 55,000 people came that night. You should have seen the people. 1 layer, 2 layers, 10,000 on each layer, 15, 20 on some. 4 layers on the 5th layer. People were looking down on the ring. Clay comes out to meet Liston, and Liston starts to retreat. If Liston goes back an inch farther, he'll end up in the ringside seat. Clay swings with his left. Clay swings with his right. Look at young Cassius carry the fight. Liston keeps backing, but there's not enough room. It's a matter of time. Clay lowers the boom. Now Liston disappears from view. The crowd is getting frantic, but our radar stations have picked him up. He is somewhere over the Atlantic. Liston is still rising, and the ref wears a frown, but he can't start counting till Sonny comes down. Who would have thought when they came to the fight that they'd witness the launching of a human satellite? I'm for real, man. You just get past Patterson. Come on, rank number 2. Jones will fall in 5. Sonny, come over and make that offer. Come over and make that offer. And you be there to see it, you hear? Man, I don't get hit. I'm the fastest thing on 2 feet, man. You crazy?
Virtually, no one thought Clay stood a chance against Liston. But young Cassius had publicized himself well. Contracts were signed for the brash 22-year-old to challenge for the heavyweight crown. The weigh-in for Clay Liston was pure theater of the bizarre. Cassius ranted and raved and banged an African walking stick on the floor. His pulse rate was measured at 110 beats per minute, compared with a normal rate of 54. The challenger stopped shouting only long enough to predict victory in the 8th round. Liston said 2 rounds would be enough. But on February 25th, 1964, Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. danced like a butterfly and stung like a bee. For 6 rounds, he gave Sonny Liston a boxing lesson, like Liston had never been taught before. The more Liston tried, the more foolish he looked. With stunning precision and breathtaking speed, Cassius Clay broke the champion's will. Badly beaten, his aura of invincibility gone, at the start of round 7, Sonny Liston quit on his stool.
There might be stopping it. That might be all, ladies and gentlemen. Get up there, Joe. Get up there. Get up in the ring.
The entertainer was now heavyweight champion of the world. That in itself was astounding. But more important, no one could possibly foresee the seismic shifts in America's social, political, and religious fabric that would follow Cassius Clay's remarkable triumph.
Hold it, you're not that pretty. I'm a bad man. Wait. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. Joe, I shook up the world. You must listen to me. L.B.W. All right, hold it. Ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you this. Joe, wait, hold it. They're going to tap, but I don't think so. All right, tell us this. All right, Cash. Thank you. Thank you, Cassius Clay, the heavyweight champion. Let's get our champion, Joe Louis, over here.
2 days after defeating Sonny Liston, Clay announced that he had joined a controversial religious group known as the Nation of Islam and would follow the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, teachings articulated by Nation of Islam members like Malcolm X. Then, rejecting what he called the slave name given to his ancestors, Clay changed his own name to Muhammad Ali.
If the master got sick, he'd say, "What's the matter, boss? We sick?" He was as sick as the master. But then you had some field Negroes who lived in huts, had nothing to lose. They wore the worst kind of clothes, they ate the worst food, and they caught hell. They felt the sting of the lash. They hated their master. Oh, yes, they did. If the master got sick, they prayed that the master died.
Later that year, in the wake of a bitter split between Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad, Ali traveled to Africa, and his legend began to spread worldwide. On February 21st, 1965, Malcolm X was assassinated at a rally in Harlem. Ali, who had sided with Elijah Muhammad during the struggle between the two men, was stunned. Still, there were fights in the ring to be won, and contracts for an Ali Liston rematch were signed. On May 25, 1965, Muhammad Ali and Sonny Liston did battle for the second time.
The heavyweight champion of the world, Muhammad Ali.
Referee is former heavyweight champion, Jersey Joe Walcott.
I'm not going to go with a lot of preliminaries. I know you both know the rules remain, so I'm in here to enforce them. So I'll say to you, keep your punches up, protect yourself at all times. Good luck. Shake hands, come out fighting.
The champion says a prayer in his corner. Clay takes the lead at the start. As he did the night he won the title, Clay uses the ring, makes Liston look slow.
Less than 2 minutes into the fight, a short right hand put Liston on the canvas. It was a good punch, Ali would say later, but I didn't think I hit him so hard that he couldn't have gotten up. Regardless, Sonny Liston stayed down. Meanwhile, America was exploding. The calm of the 1950s had given way to riots in Newark and Watts. A bloody war in Vietnam was alienating a generation and would claim 55,000 American lives.
We believe in obeying the laws of the land. We are taught to obey the laws of the land as long as it don't conflict with our religious beliefs. Whatever the punishment, whatever the persecution is for standing up for my religious beliefs, even if it means facing machine gun fire that day, I will face it before denouncing Elijah Muhammad and the religion of Islam. I'm ready to die.
On April 28, 1967, citing his religious principles, Muhammad Ali refused induction into the United States Army during the height of the war in Vietnam. For that act of conscience, he was stripped of his title, forbidden to fight, criminally tried for draft evasion, convicted, and sentenced to 5 years in prison. America was being torn apart with citizens everywhere taking sides. In the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City, John Carlos and Tommy Smith raised clenched black glove fists on the victory stand, while an 18-year-old gold medal winner named George Foreman paraded around the ring with an American flag. Yet Ali was succeeding where many before him had failed. By the sheer force of personality and the courage of his beliefs, he was building a bridge between those who opposed the war in Vietnam and those who were struggling against racism in America.
All the good cowboys ride the white horses. The White House. Angel food cake is the white cake, but the devil food cake is the chocolate cake. Now, I'm sure if there's a heaven in the sky and the color folks die and go to heaven, where are the colored angels? They must be in the kitchen preparing the milk and honey.
Well, that's fine. What's that? Embalming fluid. Why wait?
As the 1960s came to a close, America was still very much divided. Symbolically, in the new Madison Square Garden, Hollywood celebrities and great white champions of the past gathered.
the sky so light, it seems Snow White on one bright morning.
Meanwhile, deprived of his livelihood, Muhammad Ali was on stage in a small Broadway theater, playing the role of Buck White. He needed the job to pay his legal bills and provide adequately for his wife and children.
All alone above, a sign of love, release so-called coons, and we'll fill the street with dancing feet beneath big black balloons.
Ultimately, the United States Supreme Court would rule unanimously that Ali's constitutional rights had been violated. His conviction for draft evasion was overturned, and in the wake of lower court rulings, the greatest fighter of his era, and possibly of all time, was allowed to return to the ring. During Ali's exile from boxing, Joe Frazier had succeeded to the heavyweight crown. After comeback victories over Jerry Quarry and Oscar Bonavena, Muhammad Ali challenged for what he thought was rightfully his.
There's nowhere in the world for a man that don't have no footwork to catch me. Even a welterweight. Keep your camera moving, because I'm kind of fast. Keep your camera moving. This is Joe Frazier fighting me. Punches around. See? This is Joe Frazier. He's trying to block him. Well, you know he's catching him, see? And a real boxer, this is nothing but a target for a man who can stay on his toes, who can stick him. Stay off range when he don't want to punch. When he's ready to punch, move in. Stick. That's what you do a man like Joe Frazier. Back off of him. Just keep boxing.
On March 8, 1971, the eyes of the world were focused on a small square of illuminated canvas that had become one of the great stages of modern times. Never before had so many people watched and waited for a single event. But 3.5 years out of boxing had eroded Ali's once dazzling skills. His speed and reflexes were diminished, and he could no longer dance on sprightly legs for a full 15 rounds. Joe Frazier prevailed.
Ali shakes his head. He's signaling to his fans that Frazier didn't. Ali tells Frazier that didn't hurt.
I really think the guy's kind of sick in the head with it. Because some part of the fight he lapped off and said, "Don't you know I'm God?" So he keeps saying it, you know what I mean? Every time you throw a punch, you know, "Don't you know I'm God?" And I got under some of them punches and I said, "Well, God, you're going to get whipped tonight."
Both men ripping, tearing, bombing punches at each other. This is what the crowd came to see. Ali tells Joe, "Come on back." And come back he does. Ali almost goes down. Ali in desperate trouble. Ali holding on. Frazier trying to end it here in round 11. Muhammad Ali, rubbery leg, obviously in desperate trouble here in the 11th round, and there's the bell. An explosive left to the jaw, and Muhammad Ali goes down. Let's watch this perfectly timed left to the jaw.
Ali's loss was a stunning blow to everyone who believed in him. But for Joe Frazier, the victory was sweet. Several days after the fight, he celebrated his triumph at Toots Shores with Jack Dempsey, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, and others. "I loved fighting," Frazier would say when his career was done. "I loved the competitiveness, the one-on-one. I loved to stand on my own. People don't understand what an honor it is to be a fighter. It gave me the opportunity to prove myself, to say, I'm the best. I matter. I am.
Last night he said that he didn't think you wanted to fight him again.
Oh, how wrong he is, boy. You know, like right now, I'll have to, after a week or two go by, it'll all come back to me. But right now, I want to rest and go home and relieve myself of this swollen jaw.
I'm going to retire till he come back. I'm going to sing rock and roll till, let's say Muhammad Ali, what y'all call him, I call him Cassius Clay, get ready to come back. I'll retire and spend time with my band until he get ready to
But
come
Frazier
back.
avoided a rematch with Ali, choosing instead to fight non-entities like Terry Daniels and Ron Stander. Then, in January 1973, he defended his title in what he thought would be another easy match against the powerful but unpolished George Foreman. It was a mistake. George Foreman was the new heavyweight champion of the world. 1 year later, Ali avenged his own loss to Joe Frazier with a unanimous 12-round decision at Madison Square Garden. Then, the greatest signed to fight George Foreman for the heavyweight crown.
I never worry about hitting power. So a man like George that comes out with those big... That's why he throw him, he draws them back. Hey, watch out, here come the left. Here come the right. Get ready, here come another left. That's what I hear when he's throwing them. So when a man, so I don't believe that I'm going to be knocked out and punched around. Experience.
No athletic contest in history has inspired as much global joy as the battle between Muhammad Ali and George Foreman that took place in Kinshasa, Zaire, in the pre-dawn hours of October 30th, 1974. As testament to Ali's huge drawing power, he was paid the extraordinary sum of $5,450,000 for the fight. That was more than Jack Dempsey, Joe Louis, or Rocky Marciano grossed in an entire career. Foreman remained in seclusion, preparing for the bout. By contrast, Ali was highly visible, attending press conferences and mingling with crowds. The Rumble in the Jungle, as it became known, was a promotion unlike any other in the history of boxing. Before the bout, Ali visited the ring, taking note of the conditions around him. The ring ropes were new, and having been left out in the humidity and heat, they had already begun to sag. That would be crucial later on.
I see it in the eyes. I see fear in the eyes of all of these followers. I see fear. This was the fight that Muhammad Ali was supposed to be ending. The myth of Muhammad was supposed to fall. This was supposed to be my destruction. This was supposed to be my destruction.
Round one, Ali bouncing around, shifting left for right. George moves slow. Ali gets the first punch in. A light right hand taken on the forehead by George Foreman, the champion. Foreman moving slow, trying to stalk his man. Ali looks like he's ready to go here. He's not staying away. He's going after his man. Foreman comes in. Foreman a bit cautious in the first round, looking to drop that left hook. To the body of Muhammad Ali. That's Ali on your right. Foreman on the left. A wild left hand thrown by George Foreman, taken on the side of the head of Ali. The pace is tremendous in round one. George Foreman with his face to you. Ali to the left. Ali tries to time up. He's leaning on Foreman. Foreman with a vicious uppercut misses. Ticketed for the head of Ali. Ali stands back, ties his man up, leans on the rope. One dead. Two wild right hands taken on the side of the head of Muhammad Ali.
Ali continues to try to tie his man up. Zach Clayton separates him. Wild left hand, vicious hook. There's a real strong right hand just underneath the heart. And Muhammad Ali is taking some punishment now. About 25 seconds left in the round. Ali feints left, throws the straight right hand. That right hand lead has George Foreman slightly confused, but a straight left jab thrown by Foreman has Ali in the corner. Ali dances back, hangs on. What a tremendous pace in round number one. Vicious right thrown to the body of Ali. Wild right misses the head of Ali. The left taken on the glove of Ali, the right glove. Foreman pouring. Foreman trying to set him up. Ali, this is a cruising round for him. Foreman wailing away, and Ali says to take a best shot. Ali throwing a good pass. Backs up Foreman. Backs him up in his tracks. Foreman tries to look. Ali throws to the right. Foreman comes back to the left. Foreman hit again. Ali working to the head of...
What I remember most about the fight, George Foreman said later, was I hit Muhammad with the hardest shot to the body I ever delivered to any opponent. Anybody else in the world would have crumbled. Muhammad cringed. I could see it hurt. And then he looked at me like he was saying, "I'm not going to let you hurt me." I remember the punch that knocked me down, too. I was going after him. I was tired, but I still didn't respect his punching power. So I was chasing with my hands down. Muhammad was near the ropes. I missed with the right hand, turned around, and he moved with speed he wasn't supposed to have at that point in the fight after taking all those blows. He threw a right hand, and boom, right on the button. It caught me, and I went down.
You can't say my legs are gone. You can't say I was tired, because what happened? I didn't dance from the second round on. I stayed on the ropes. When I stay on the ropes, you think I'm doing bad. But I want all boxers to put this in the page of boxing. Staying on the ropes is a beautiful thing with a heavyweight when you make him shoot his best shots and you know he's not hitting you. I would have gave George Foreman 2 rounds of steady punching, because after that, he's swinging like a sissy. He was mad. I told you, I'm the real champion. I told you, I'm the champion of the world. All of you bow. All of my critics crawl. All of you suckers who write the Ring magazine, Boxing Illustrated, all of you suckers bow, because the stage was set. You made him great. You made him a bad Joe Louis. You made him a hard puncher. But I want everybody from this moment on to recognize me as the scholar of boxing. Assalamu alaikum to all the Muslims. Thanks to Almighty God Allah. I want all of you fans out there who believe in me, read the Muhammad Speaks newspapers, go to your local Muslim temple, and learn more about the life-giving power from Allah through Elijah Muhammad that I've got. You saw all the white people, the critics, the world, had me ranked to go down. This was their man, and Allah, God was with me, and this man looked like nothing.
1 year later, Ali journeyed to Manila to face Joe Frazier for the 3rd time. It was a savage war of attrition. After 14 brutal rounds, Frazier could fight no more. Ali raised an arm in triumph, even as his legs failed him. Neither man was ever the same again. Ali would enter the ring 10 more times before his career was over. But with each future fight, the risk to his health would increase as his speed and reflexes continued to erode.
I was so tired, so exhausted, so weak, I barely could walk out of the ring. And they had to carry me out, and I was so down. So I said that this is next to death. The only thing that could have been worse was dying.
The next dominant heavyweight after Ali was Larry Holmes. But even as Holmes was rising to greatness, a young man named Mike Tyson was learning to fight and wrestling demons of his own.
Relax. Yeah, but just relax. Just relax. I'm when we first started. Yeah, well, just relax. I can't walk away, remember? Yeah. I'm Mike Tyson. Everybody likes me. Yeah, everyone likes you now. That's right. You have a reason to be proud. Let's go get ready for a fight. Come on.
Once labeled an incorrigible youth at age 13, Tyson was released from a New York State reformatory into the custody of Cus D'Amato, the legendary trainer who had guided Floyd Patterson to the heavyweight crown. D'Amato and Tyson developed a relationship that was more than teacher and student. They were like father and son as well.
Hands up when you pull out. You gotta score points when you get inside. So score points like you're doing the amateur. And spring to the side.
Move your head. Move your head. See that? Fine.
Then, on November 7th, 1985, Cus D'Amato died. And it was left to Tyson's co-managers, Bill Caton and Jim Jacobs, both of whom had supported D'Amato's efforts, to lead Mike Tyson to the promised land. On November 22nd, 1986, Tyson challenged Trevor Berbick for the WBC Heavyweight Championship.
Any question from the challenger or chief second? Any question from the champion or chief second? All right, let's get it on. Come on.
Then, under Caton's guidance, Mike Tyson was introduced to the world. His first overseas trip was to London, where the media came out to greet him in full force.
And just right here, thanks, Mike. And just here, Mike. And in the middle here, please, Mike. And just right here again, Mike, thanks. One more of you. Love it. Just here, please. Thanks, Mike. Mike.
Here we go again, Mike. And again this one.
Slightly above it. Now lift it up. Now a bit more up.
I'm 21 now, and I still feel like 15. I had love from Carson and Camille, and I was just happy, you know what I mean? I never thought about making a lot of money, having money and everything. I was just happy. Just plain old fun made me happy. I didn't have as many responsibilities as now.
On March 7th, 1987, Tyson captured the WBA title with a lopsided decision over James Bone Crusher Smith. 5 months later, he unified the heavyweight championship with a unanimous decision over IBF champion Tony Tucker. Next up, after a 7th-round knockout of Terrell Biggs, was the former champion Larry Holmes.
I'm going down in history, not Mike Tyson. He go down in history as an SOB. If he do happen to win the fight, down the line, he's going to destroy himself.
The 38-year-old Holmes was no match for Tyson. At the start, he moved well, jabbing, dancing around the ring. But being a champion means sooner or later, you'll get your man. For Tyson, knocking out Larry Holmes was just a matter of time. But Mike Tyson's life was about to change, and ultimately, the man described by many as the perfect fighting machine would break down. Tyson fell in love with Robin Givens, a young actress sometimes derisively referred to as the gold digger of Hollywood. Tyson and Givens soon wed, with Tyson's new mother-in-law, Ruth Roper, evincing a strong interest in the champion's finances.
He offered him money, $50,000, to help us get a divorce. He said he'd stop at nothing less than our getting a divorce. This is like something out of Dynasty.
Next into the picture came promoter Don King, of whom it has been said, Don views fighters the way a snake views frogs. They're only good as something to eat. He charms them, and then he swallows them, and after they're used up, all you see is their bones.
Power, power, power. Now, you are playing with power.
Punch-Out! Mike Tyson's Punch-Out from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power.
Now we'll see who's the champion and who's the chump.
On June 27th, 1988, Tyson confirmed his ring supremacy by knocking out Michael Spinks at 91 seconds of the first round. But one by one, he was abandoning the manager, the trainer, and friends who had supported him during his climb to the summit.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Suddenly, both in and out of the ring, Mike Tyson was in decline. His next fight was against Frank Bruno in February 1989. Once again, Tyson emerged victorious, but the defensive genius that had marked his earlier triumphs wasn't there anymore. After a first-round knockout of Carl Williams, Tyson traveled to Japan. His opponent was James Buster Douglas, a journeyman heavyweight who entered the ring a 40-1 underdog.
Can he beat the count?
He got a little overconfident. Got a little loosey-goosey. Douglas coming back with a left and right. Tyson is wobbling. Tyson needs the ropes for support. Douglas wailing away. Without the ropes, Mike would have gone down. A desperate one-eyed fighter. Brawling willingly just to try to get in the shot that will finish things in.
Oh, the uppercut.
What an uppercut by Douglas, and down goes Tyson.
On February 10th, 1992, 2 years after his loss to Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson's fall from grace was complete. A jury in Indiana found him guilty of rape. For the next 3 years, prison would be his home. Mike Tyson's future is still in doubt. What he does in the years ahead will determine whether he's remembered as a very good fighter or one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. As for his predecessors, they've traveled divergent roads. In the 1980s, Muhammad Ali cast aside the teachings of Elijah Muhammad and chose to follow the path of Orthodox Islam. Skin color doesn't matter, Ali says now. It's the heart and soul and mind that count. Rocky Marciano died in a plane crash in 1969. He is still the only heavyweight champion of the world to retire and stay retired with an unblemished record. Joe Louis spent the final years of his life as a greeter for Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. But the pride he brought to all Americans has never been forgotten. Joe Louis, Jimmy Cannon once wrote, is a credit to his race, the human race. Max Baer suffered a heart attack in a Hollywood hotel and died at age 50, a fun-loving man till the end. Robbed of his ring earnings by the mobsters who had controlled him, Primo Carnera died in his native Italy, suffering from cirrhosis, a broken man. As the years passed, Max Schmeling's inherent decency enabled him to erase the stigma of having once been Adolf Hitler's favorite fighter. Eventually, Schmeling became chairman of the board of Coca-Cola in his native land. Gene Tunney and Jack Dempsey grew to be friends. Both were successful in their later years, but would always be remembered for the passions of their youth. Kings of the Ring. Their story is our own.